Good morning, Maddie. How are you, bud? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I just watched a documentary on one of my favorite artists. His name is Thomas Danbo. He's this Danish guy. He does monumental sculptures out of trash. And he became famous for these trolls he makes. I'm sure you've seen them. He's got about a couple hundred of them in the world right now on all over the world. Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. And what happened was he was making stuff out of trash back in the early 2000s. And the city of Copenhagen decided they were going to buy a bunch of fiber optic cable and wire the entire city of Copenhagen and give every citizen free internet. Great idea. Socialism. And but that necessitated buying a couple thousand big cable spools full of fiber optic cable. And these are single use, these wooden cable spools are single use items. You can't really do anything with a 6 foot tall cable spool once you've used all the cable. And so the city of Copenhagen built an incinerator next to their public works department to burn all of these cable spools and send all that carbon up into the air. And this artist, he said, whoa, I can make something out of that. That's free art materials. How about you just truck this all out to my farm right outside Copenhagen and dump all these spools on my land, and I'll get around to using it. And the city said, well, yeah, that's lots cheaper and easier and cleaner than burning it. So they trucked all these spools, and he ended up with a couple thousand, these big 6 foot tall cable spools. And he started making these trolls, these giant, some of them are 5 stories tall, everyone unique. And they're placed in public parks and forests. And there are people now who schedule their vacations going around the world to take selfies in front of Thomas Danbo's trolls. And they're all pretty amazing and I think beautiful to look at. And all made out of trash that he was given for free. And now he's got a staff of 20 people who help him build these big trolls. And he's gone through all the Copenhagen cable spools, and he's got one person on staff who spends all day on the phones calling up civic entities, calling up cities in Denmark and the rest of Scandinavia, and finding big collections of pallets and cable spools, and getting trucking companies to use their repositioning routes. When they have to send an empty truck from point A to point B, he'll have them fill that truck with pallets and bring it over to point B and unload it. And then another truck will pick it up there and bring it over. And these are trucks that would be going these routes anyway, empty, with no cargo. So the trucking companies are happy to take a tax write-off and help him out and move his materials around Europe. And it's this huge operation now. He gets hundreds of thousands of dollars for every troll. He's got about 200 of these trolls installed in the world now. They're weatherproof. He uses galvanized nails. And of course, the lumber's all treated. It's cable spools. It's meant to be outdoors and stay intact. And they're built really solid. It's real good wood, solid wood. And I just love this guy. I love what he's doing. And I hope someday I can be... I don't know, I'd like to make a 5-story tall turtle out of cigarette lighters. I really would. God knows I'm gonna have enough lighters. I am committed to buying as many lighters in the month of March as my neighbors bring me. And I estimate it's gonna be about 50,000 lighters. Yeah, I'm gonna have to use 50,000 baht for trash. I'm gonna have to use a lot of lighters next year. I'm gonna find my reading glasses, hang on. We now resume our regularly scheduled broadcast. Wow. feel unprepared this morning. I actually slept the whole night last night, dude. I went to bed at 9 o'clock. I woke up at 5. I slept 9 straight hours. Is that right? 8. 9 to 5. Sleeping 9 to 5. Ugh, there's ants in my coffee. When the rain stopped, there's huge populations of ants down in the anthills. Ants love sand, and they love to build their tunnels in sand, so there's a lot of ants on the beach. And when the rain stopped, they get thirsty, and they come into my kitchen and get into my water pitchers, and then I don't look, and I make coffee, and there's boiled ants in my coffee. What the Heart Wants. We are reading from Leaving Thailand by Steve Ross. What the Heart Wants. She was 17 and only tending bar, but everybody on the soy knew that when Nu turned 18, she would start going out with the Farang. That's why Nim, the mama-san at CB's bar, gave Nu room and board and let her keep her tips. Nu was young and lovely and sweet. She was a good investment. Nu was friendly to everybody, but she was in love with Spencer. He was a Brit in his early 20s, slightly built with long, dirty blonde hair and a collection of rock band t-shirts. He was always full of big plans and big boasts, and he was very ADHD. He was spending as much of his father's money as he could in the 3rd month of his 3-month visa. And the first time he met me, he said, "I'm staying here until I get a virgin for free, mate. That's my goal. A virgin for free. After that, I can go home." Nu was the virgin he'd decided to get for free. I figured it was just another one of his big plans that would never go anywhere, like the rock music festival he was going to organize on the beach. Everybody knew Sapen was Farang Kikai, a chicken shit Farang. All the girls told Nu that. He was a scruffy, irresponsible scalawag. But the heart wants what the heart wants, and Nu's heart wanted Sapen. Nim was having none of it, of course. Once she saw what was happening, she made Nu stay with her in her little room behind the bar. They slept in a single bed. But Nim was a heavy drinker and a deep sleeper. There was apparently room on Nim's bed for 3. One morning, Sapen showed up at my bungalow to show off 2 spots of blood on the leg of his filthy shorts. "That's virgin's blood, mate," he said, like it was putting a man on the moon. I never saw him again. He probably left the island that day. For weeks, I watched Nu suffer. Nobody feels a broken heart like a teenaged girl. She forgot drink orders and randomly burst into tears with no provocation. Nim was furious with her. As Nu's 18th birthday approached, she got more and more depressed. I don't know why I did it. It was completely out of character. I invited Nu to come live with me. At first, she refused. She liked me, but not enough to be my woman. Nim reminded her that the only other option was going with a different stranger every night. And so Nu accepted my offer. The other girls from CB's bar came around my house and snooped in my closets like the Department of Human Services. They pronounced me safe and did the negotiating. No moved in a few days after her 18th birthday. In bed that first night, I asked her if she minded if I did something, and she said, "I am for you." By morning, I was for her. I was in love. Drop dead stupid love. Love like nothing else I've ever felt. I was 32 years old. She was 18, just. We looked ridiculous together. I didn't care. The heart wants what the heart wants. We lived together for 5 months and 10 days. We did nothing special. We lived in my bungalow. She went to school and I went to work. On the weekends, we went bowling or took in a movie. Nothing special. Just the best days of my life. 5 months and 10 days. I was happy in every single moment of it. Purely, honestly happy. Without complication or qualification. For the first, and it turns out the only time in my life. George Bush ruined everything. He invaded Kuwait. Back then, the tourism market was skittish. As soon as war broke out, everybody who had planned a vacation abroad canceled their reservations. The island emptied of tourists, like somebody pulled a big flush lever. Excuse me. It was January, beginning of the high season, and the invasion tanked the whole island's income for a whole year. The hotels stopped paying Phuket Magazine and the radio station for the advertising, and they stopped paying me. The hotels sent their staffs back to the rice paddies and stopped paying English teachers. I had no choice, or at least I thought I had no choice. I sold my motorcycle and I bought a ticket to Iowa. I told New I'd return as soon as the war was over. But when I got home, American Express and the Internal Revenue Service both attached my wages. It took me a year to save enough money to go back to Thailand. For a year, she sent me loving letters, and I sent her money. Then a month before I was to return, New met Luca, a 20-year-old Italian professional footballer, and she fell in love. Drop-dead, stupid love. Love like she felt with Sapen, I suppose. Luca was another charming loser, destined to go back to Italy soon, but the heart wants what the heart wants. When I returned to Phuket in April 1992, New stayed with me for a few days, I suppose out of a sense of obligation. I noticed that she was distant and withdrawn, not at all impressed with the gifts I had brought her. Then a bar girl who didn't like New told me about Luca, and that was it. We were done. You'd have thought I'd have learned something from my experience with Gail, but apparently I'm a very slow learner. A quarter of a century later, more now, I think of New every day. Yeah. I have an album of old photographs of us together that I'll never throw away. I get misty when I hear "Can't Touch This." Nobody else gets sentimental about MC Hammer. I'm stuck permanently in 1990 with no hope of ever getting out. I've never felt anything like what I felt with New. Not with any other woman, and God knows I have tried. Since then, I've had all sorts of relationships with other women. Hell, I was married for 10 miserable years. I'm pretty old now, and it's clear to me that those 5 months and 10 days with Nu were the best I'm ever going to get. I have never heard any other sound as sweet as Nu's voice saying, "I am for you." I have absolutely no memory of what I paid to take Nu out of CB's bar, just like I don't remember what I paid for a movie ticket on Phuket in 1990. Negotiations with the older girls went on for days. But now I don't remember what I paid for her night school classes or her motorcycle or her uniforms or her textbooks or our groceries. I remember that I gave her a gold necklace. I don't have a clue what I paid for it. I see online that they've paved the streets in Kata. I suppose there are no more little six-stool bar beers. I assume the bar fines have gone up since 1990, but I don't care. What some other guy pays to get his dick sucked is none of my business. Here is my business. What keeps that other guy awake at 3 a.m.? That interests me. What scares him interests me. Trying to figure out what happened in his childhood that made him unable to form healthy adult relationships with women, that interests me. How he and the woman he's paying for sex each rationalize the moral ambiguities of the relationship fascinates me. What drives these men and women into these bars on Kata Beach and on Soy Cowboy and Walking Street and Loy Kraw Road? How do these men and women cope with pain, with loss, with rejection, hunger, rage, sadness, joy? How do they cope with the inevitability of death? And in these bars, where sex is made dull and almost worthless, how do we give the heart what the heart wants? Why do some of those men and women fall in love? And why do some of them not? Yeah. I think Nu features prominently in this book, as I remember. On the team. '67 to '82, it's about 15 pages. That one was 61, 5 pages is 20 minutes, 4 minutes a page. 16 pages is going to be more than an hour. I think we will stop here for today. I don't like what my hair is doing anyway. I'm going to dye my hair blue this week to raise money for flood relief in Hat Yai. The hairdresser has ordered a box of electric blue hair dye, and we're waiting for it to come in. And when she gets it, she'll call me. We'll make an appointment, and I will dye my hair blue. A fellow named the Queensland Tiger donated $1,000 to flood relief to be able to choose the color I would color my hair, and he chose electric blue. So that's happening this week. But we will come back to Leaving Thailand here in a couple of days. Have a great day, Maddie. I hope you stay well. I hope you stay happy. And sending good vibes from Turtle Beach.